In this video, we'll go through how to assemble your embedded system. Before we start, let's make sure to have your board and all the parts ready to go. This will save you a lot of time. Today I will be using the water-soluble flux and leaded solder, also with the water-soluble flux. Make sure you're not mix-matching the flux type. Apply the flux to all the pads. Also, change the soldering iron temperature to match your solder melting point. The strategy I use is solder the board inside out. On this board, that would mean the microcontroller, the LED, and last but not least, the resistor. We will start with the microcontroller. Normally I solder one pin of the microcontroller first. Simply apply solder to just one pad. Now we will position the microcontroller. Notice the small marking on pin 1 of the microcontroller. Make sure you match this pin to the pin 1 on your board. Once you have placed the microcontroller correctly, simply touch the pad with your soldering iron. This allows the solder to flow and make the connection. Now I will solder the opposite pin and lock the microcontroller in place. As you can see, this allows me to position the microcontroller nicely. Now we will solder the rest of the pin by slightly touching the soldering iron to each of the pad. Make sure you have good solder on your soldering iron. As you can see, I just cleaned my tip and reapply the solder. Once complete, let's do a quick eye inspection to make sure everything looks good. And it does. Now we will solder the rest of the board. I will put ion solder on one pad of each resistor, capacitor, and LEDs. Once you have a good amount of solder on your soldering iron, you can just glide through like what I'm doing here. Let's start with the capacitor nearby the microcontroller. Here it is. I'm just going to put it down and touch the side with the solder already on the board, and there you go. Again, another one. Go ahead and grab both sides and put it down. Now if we'll finish up the capacitor by just simply apply solder to the other side. To make sure you have a solid connection, just touch your soldering iron to each side of the capacitor and let it flow. Now we will do the LED. This marking on the right hand side here, this indicate cathode for the LED that I'm using. So make sure you align that correctly. This might be different for the LED that you're using. So just to be sure, check the data sheet. Same thing, just go ahead and grab the LED and simply put it down. Here I'm making sure that I'm making a good connection by simply reflow it a little bit. Again, now we're going to solder the other side of the LED and secure it. Now we will solder the resistor. So let's go ahead and grab them. Now do the same thing as we did with the capacitor and the LED. Simply put it down and touch the side with the solder. As a trick, firmly grip your resistor, flow it, release your soldering iron, then release the resistor. Now let's finish the resistor by just apply solder to the other side. Now we will solder the pull-up resistor for the switch. Now making sure that they're having a nice and clean joints by just simply touch each of the pads, take off the excess solders. Now we'll solder on the button. I will start by applying flux. To solder this, we will touch one side with the soldering iron while feeding the solder to the other side. This method guarantees good connection by heating the pin, the via, and the solder. Next step is to solder on our headers. Again, we'll apply flux. Now we'll do the same thing as we did with the button. Simply touch one side while feed solder to the other side of the pin. Now we'll do a visual inspection, make sure there's nothing wrong with our board. Another inspection to make sure that we clean off the flux on the board. Make sure there's no shiny residue. Here's a demo program that I created to blink the LED when the button is unpressed. When the button is pressed, the LED will stay lit. Thank you for watching and good luck.